Tucker's rant is a confused, angry, and ironically self-defeating mess. While he claims to defend the gospel, he ends up misrepresenting both free grace theology and sound doctrine itself, while exposing his own immaturity, bitterness, and contradiction. Let's break it down. 1. Misrepresentation of free grace. Tucker says, free grace denies that Jesus came in the flesh or that he was tempted. That's false. Most free grace believers affirm Hebrews 4:15, for we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Free grace doesn't deny the humanity or temptation of Christ. If an individual within the camp worded something poorly or held a mistaken view, that doesn't make the entire theology heretical. That would be like saying all Calvinists deny evangelism because a few hyper-Calvinists reject preaching the gospel. It's a sweeping generalization based on fringe voices, not the core doctrine itself. 2. Jesus not being able to sin is not a denial of his flesh. The impeccability of Christ that he couldn't sin is a long-standing Orthodox view, not a free grace invention. Many theologians across denominations, including Baptists, hold this because Jesus is God. Tucker somehow thinks saying Jesus couldn't sin equals denial of his flesh, which is theological nonsense. Jesus being tempted yet unable to sin is no contradiction, it's perfection. 3. Strawman theology and misplaced labels. He says free grace teaches that you can be a Jew or Muslim, and as long as you believe in God, you're saved. No, they don't. That's absurd. Free grace teaches salvation comes by faith in Jesus Christ alone, not vague theism, not Judaism, not Islam. He's either grossly uninformed or intentionally slanderous. 4. Self-righteous victim complex. Tucker spends half his time defending himself from accusations, as if anyone cares about his personal resume of what he was or wasn't. The obsession with optics, you're hurting my channel's algorithm, reveals more about his motives than anything else. 5. Hypocrisy in tone. He calls others retards, idiots, devil-possessed freaks, then complains about being slandered. He sounds more like a high school YouTube drama queen than a minister of the gospel. The spirit he exhibits is not the Spirit of God, regardless of how right he thinks his theology is. 6. Confused stance on free grace. You claims free grace is a cult and heresy, then at the end says eternal security is true, salvation is by grace alone through faith, and believing in Jesus saves you. So that's free grace theology, he just doesn't like the label. In other words, Tucker affirms the same doctrine but rails against it because of a term and a few people he dislikes. 7. Irony of his own verse citation. He uses 1 John 4, 1-3 to accuse free grace folks of Antichrist spirit, but that very passage exposes him when applied rightly. He attacks fellow believers over strawmen, accuses without cause, and denies that God's spirit is in anyone but himself. That's spiritual pride, not discernment. So here's my final thought. Tucker is not contending for the faith. He's venting like a religious narcissist with a persecution complex. He affirms core truths, yet slanders others who do the same. That's not the work of a shepherd. It's the babbling of a spiritual toddler in a pulpit costume.